This is the Cadillac Lyriq, a large, luxurious electric crossover SUV that's designed to offer something different for people who don't want something from Germany, or maybe from somewhere else. And in this review, I'm going to tell you what it's like, what you need to know about it, the best alternatives to it, and also some other stuff that really needs to be discussed. So let's get to it, shall we? If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and let's check it out. There are two different versions of the Cadillac Lyriq on sale in Australia at launch, and well, the entry-level one starts at $122,000 before on-road costs, and that is this one here. It's called Luxury, and it does have heaps and heaps of luxury inclusions and lots of standard equipment as well. You've got LED lighting all around the car, keyless entry, 21-inch wheels, you've got a panoramic glass roof, leather interior trim, a huge 33-inch display, that's what Cadillac claims anyway, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, active noise cancellation, heated and ventilated front seats, a heated steering wheel, and heated second row outboard seats, as well as tri-zone climate control. And if you want the sport model, which adds a couple of $1,000s to the price tag, it'll get you different alloy wheels and a slightly different look around the exterior of the car. And look, it's got lots and lots of plush feeling inclusions. I'll run you through them in the interior section of this video, but let's talk about some alternatives that you might want to consider if you're thinking about the Cadillac Lyriq. The first alternative I'd recommend if you're thinking about spending this kind of money is the BMW iX. Now, there's an updated version of it coming very soon. The thing about the iX is that it looks different and feels different compared to most other BMWs and most other cars on the market, in fact. It has a really interesting design. It's beautiful inside and really, really comfort focused. So if that's what you're after, it could be a fantastic choice. Lots of great EV tech and other tech on board in that model as well. But if it was me and I was spending this kind of cash on an electric SUV, I would be looking at the Volvo EX90. It's a three-row, family-friendly SUV with some seriously lovely elements to it. I really was impressed with the EX90 in a lot of ways, and I do think it could be a really great choice for someone who is thinking about their family and having plenty of space and practicality, and maybe, just maybe, dealing with a little bit less of the chintzy elements when it comes to the design. And if you're not sure whether you want to buy a fully electric SUV, then maybe have a think about the Land Rover Defender plug-in hybrid. That's right, the 110 version of the Defender does come with a plug-in hybrid electric powertrain with a pretty decent 50 k's or so of EV driving range and a punchy engine when you run out of battery. And it could be a fantastic choice for those who aren't sure whether they're ready to commit to a fully electric vehicle and all the potential resale question marks that come with it. There is no denying that the Cadillac Lyriq is an imposing figure in terms of its design. Now, I'm not sure if I like the design of this car. I've spent a couple of days with it now and I'm still coming to grips with the way that it all comes together. And I'm not sure that it comes together very well, but you have your say in the comments about whether you like the look of it. It's a huge thing, more than 5 meters long, and the wheelbase is more than 3 meters long. So don't go thinking that it's going to be car park friendly in every instance. And I really think that these wheels maybe don't do it as much justice as it probably could have done to it. Now, the sport model does get different wheels. It also doesn't get quite as much bright work as this car does, but even so, it's certainly an intriguing looking piece of design. Now let's have a look in the boot. Now, if you're wondering where the boot button is, that is it right there, the badge. You press down on it and we'll electronically open the tailgate for you. Now, the claimed figure for the boot space is very high, 793 litres. It doesn't look like that to me. Maybe that's to the ceiling. But look, there's still some pretty good elements in the back here. You've got a light on this side, a little 12-volt port. You can lower those seats down by pressing those buttons and they will electronically fold. There's some tie-down points on the side there, but no shopping bag hooks. You do get a, well, parcel cover, which is probably a promising thing to have. Now, underneath the boot floor, you'll find a little bit more storage. As you can see, you might want to put your charging cables in there, and there's a little bit more storage there. But that also means no spare. That's pretty much the way things are for EVs in this class. But let's see if it's got a frunk. No storage under there. It's got like a traditional looking engine cover, and a place for firefighters to put their hard hats, apparently. Yeah, so no frunk, and that is a bit junk, I have to say. Okay, so here's the interior of the Cadillac Lyriq, and in a lot of ways, I don't necessarily think it feels like it's $130,000-ish of car. There are some bits that do feel a bit special, there's no doubt about that, but let's have a look around the cabin. So this is the so-called 33-inch display, and it's basically your driver info screen with a fair bit of information on that screen, which is actually configurable using these controls on the side, so you can change the display view based on what your preferences are, if you prefer a bit more conventional looking, or you can have a clean finish if you want. I've been having it on the energy one, so I can see the range and my speed at a quick glance. I like that there's that little control panel there to adjust that though. Now, speaking of the controls, you've got a column mounted gear selector there, which is a little bit peculiar. Push at the end for a park button. You have to actually pull it towards you and put it up into reverse, like an old school column shift, and then down into drive. So that's an interesting element of this car. Your steering wheel controls also will take some learning. So here you've got a volume toggle and tuning switch. You've got some other media controls there as well. You've got a steering wheel heating button right there. Cruise control elements there as well. So that will also take a little bit of learning, I would say. And on this stalk, you've got your blinkers and wipers, and right there is a regen braking button as well. And down here, you'll see you've got a lane keep off button. Now, it doesn't seem to be working. It keeps staying on, which is a bit annoying, and an auto hold button. And your park brake button is there too, but if you do just put the car into park, well, it will put itself into park. Now, here, you've got some controls for your seat, a bit Mercedes-ish. You've got ventilation and heating controls there. As you can see, you can have it on the back part or the back and the bum part if you want. And you've also got the adjustment toggle there. And here is a massage button. So you can choose to adjust your lumbar or play with the massage functions in the seat if you want to. So yes, it's got some luxurious elements to it, but you can get lumbar and massage functions and heating and ventilation in $50,000 cars these days. So is it special? Maybe not. This screen is also a consideration, obviously. You do have the wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as I mentioned earlier. One thing about it, it does sort of not go the full screen, even though they've tried to make it look like full screen. So if I put it on maps, for instance, you can really see the bezels are big. But yeah, at least it works pretty well. I have noticed on motorways in Sydney, it's been cutting out and disconnecting and then reconnecting. I've had that in other cars in the past as well. Can be really frustrating, especially if you're on a phone call, for instance. And here you've got your panel of other controls, including fan speed adjustment with that middle toggle, temperature adjustments there, and quick buttons for your recirc demisters, a heat button for the car to pre-warm itself or get it warmed up for you, and some other buttons over there. Now, this central screen does have a lot of data and information on it. The controls aren't as simple as they could be, I have to say. You don't have quick controls for some elements that you might want. For instance, I would love to have a swipe down or swipe across to quickly get into turn off some of the safety systems, but that is not the case here. And you do have other screens here, so you can adjust charging stuff, you can set your charge timers and so forth. Back at the home screen, you'll also find your drive mode controls in there if you want to get access to them. And back again, you can adjust your ambient lighting. There's a number of different color combinations and configurability elements to it if you want that. And you can auto park this car too, which is maybe helpful for some people. Yep, lots of other elements, as I said, but not as intuitive or simple or easy to live with as I would hope for a car of this price. But you do have a rotary dial controller to jump through menus on the screen there if you want to, and some buttons there. As you can see, they do get eaten up by glare, and that's not great. That's your volume dial right there. So there isn't a traditional one up near the screen. That right there is a vent controller for that hidden vent system. There's vents over there that are quite pretty as well. And speaking of pretty, you've got some bejeweled cup holders here. You've got a wireless phone charger that is great because it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. And between the seats, there is a relatively large center console bin with USB charging. You've got more storage down here as well with another USB-C port and heaps of open storage. There's bottle holders in the doors, and if you're wondering, yes, you can open the glove box, but you have to use a button on the screen, that one there. It doesn't work to close it, so you have to actually push it closed. The seats are pretty comfy. They've got speakers in the headrest, which is neat, leather finishing and heating and ventilation for both sides, as I said, and also memory settings for both sides, which is a nice bonus if you want to stay comfy. And up above there is a big panoramic glass roof. I've got it closed at the moment because I just do, and I've got illuminated vanity mirrors here. You can actually open the sunroof. I'll do it because, you know, just to show you, you can open the sunroof as well, if it'll let me. There we go. No, not letting me. Wait there. And okay, so yep, I'll open up the blind there. It is a big glass roof, I have to say, and you can open the sunroof. There we go, just a little bit. Open up, there we go. It's a bit finicky. So it is nice if you do like having the open air experience. You've got it. You've got an auto dimming rear view mirror here, but it can also double as a camera mirror if that's what you prefer. It's actually pretty handy if you've got faces in the background there, and no connected services. So no SOS call functionality, no over the air updates. So that might be a concern for some, I would say. But let's take a look in the back seat and see what the space is like back there. All right, so this seat is set for my driving position. I'm 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall, and look, the knee room is okay and foot room is pretty good, but headroom is the real issue back here. So if you've got 6 foot plus teens, or maybe you ferry adults around a lot, it might not be the ideal situation back here. Now, you do have grab handles up here, you've got a light on either side, and there's a few good amenities back here, including map pockets there. You've got bottle holders in the doors, soft elbow pads. That's your door handle, by the way, kind of a nifty one. And these finishes on the door tops, they aren't the most luxurious. They do feel a bit Commodore or Caprice, I have to say, and if you are the sort of person who rests their arms on the top there, you might not like that. There's ambient lighting in the back though, and you've got some other great features too, including outboard heated seats. So those are the controls there. You can adjust the temperature in the back as well, the fan speed and where the direction of the air is going, because you've got vents down there and you've got USB-C ports too. And as you can see, I've got my daughter's child seat in here, ISOFIX points in the window seats and 3 top tethers, of course, a flip down armrest with cup holders, and rather annoyingly, those ISOFIX points do bump out into your butt space. So this is not a comfortable space to sit because of that. And I mean, that is the same in the middle and on that side. And it's certainly not as plush or comfy feeling in the back seat of this car as I was hoping it would be. The Cadillac Lyriq uses a dual motor all-wheel drive powertrain with 388 kilowatts of power, 610 Newton meters of torque, and that means that this big heavy unit, you'll see the weight for it on your screen now, can do 0 to 100 in a claimed 5.3 seconds, which is pretty speedy. But let's talk about range and charging for the Lyriq. It is a large SUV with a large battery pack. It's a 102 kilowatt hour NMC battery with an electric driving range claim, WLTP, of 530 Ks. That is pretty decent for a vehicle in this class. And let's talk about the charging stuff that you need to know. So your charge port is here on the front quarter panel on the passenger side, which could be fine if you're a street parker. Probably not spending this kind of money if you do park on the street, but you'll see there that you've got a Type 2 combination plug with 22 kilowatt AC charging. Yeah, that's very, very good. You'll need 3-phase power, of course, to be able to take advantage of the very fast charging time at that rate, which you'll see on screen now. And it's got a pretty fast DC charging consideration as well. You'll see the number for it on your screen. And also it means that it should be able to do the old 10 to 80 top up in a reasonably quick time as well. So those considerations all pretty well covered when it comes to your charging stuff. I like the action of this little door as well. It's quite cute. What do you think about that? Would that be good enough for you and your needs? Well, let's go for a drive and I'll tell you what it's like from that perspective. I've spent a couple of days in this car already and done quite a few Ks already, and there are things that I do like about it and things that I don't. I like the general drivability of it. It does feel like a GM product. Now, if you've driven big Commodores or Caprices or Statesmans or something like that, well, you will feel pretty familiar with the drive experience, I would say, even though this is a dual motor all-wheel drive with huge power and torque and a whole lot more weight than any other Holden that came before it. It is certainly still a pretty predictable thing to drive. The steering is responsive and pretty well weighted, I have to say. It does tend to feel a little bit understeery at times if you're pushing it a little harder, and it's also well, prone to feeling its weight because it is a big, heavy vehicle. So don't go thinking that it's going to be the most thrilling thing to drive, but it is more of a plush big truck, and it does have a pretty comfy ride, I have to say. Now, there is no adaptive suspension element to this car. You can adjust some parts of the drive experience, including the steering, the brake feel in terms of the regen braking, and also how aggressively it responds in acceleration, and also the motor sound. So you can have it with two different sounds for the motor, Sport or Tour, and neither of them really sound like anything other than just a robotic sound. And look, that's okay. It's an EV. It shouldn't necessarily feel like a V8 to drive, and it doesn't, I have to say. But look, there's elements that I do like, as I said, including the general drive, and the power is evident. It is certainly a punchy unit. I'll just give it a little bit of a squirt here and see what it's like. So, yep, it's quick, but might not be as lightning fast as plenty of other EVs for far less money, but I guess it doesn't really matter if you are after a different kind of experience. Now, there are things that shit me about this car. Firstly, the driver monitoring camera system. It's this little system here that keeps an eye on your eyes, and it will tell you if it thinks you are distracted or drowsy. The distractedness bit is absolute bullshit. It gets it wrong so often. Yesterday, I was driving on the freeway looking straight ahead at the road ahead because there was a truck that I was approaching, and it said, "You're distracted." And it doesn't just say you're distracted on the screen, it vibrates your bottom. That's right. It has a little vibrator in your bottom, in the bottom of the seat at least, and it does certainly take some getting used to, that aspect. You can turn it off if you want to every time you drive the car, but it is definitely weird if you're not used to that. I was used to it in previous Holdens and stuff in years gone by. The Arcadia, I think, had it, and so did the Equinox, but yeah, it's not like other safety systems, and it doesn't bing and bong, which is a bonus, but the lane keeping is a little assertive and a little frustrating to turn off as well. Like, I've had trouble actually getting it to disable in this car. But more generally, I think it's okay, and I think the drive experience is perfectly acceptable. It certainly doesn't make me think, well, this is the new epitome of luxury, but it certainly isn't disappointing in most ways either. Okay, so what about efficiency? Well, it's not a small vehicle and it's not a light one either, as I've mentioned, but it is, well, a little heavy on the juice too. So the official energy consumption number, the WLTP rated figure, is on your screen now. Anything in the 20s for a dual motor all-wheel drive tells me that it's kind of inefficient, and in real world driving, it's been kind of inefficient too, but it does have a big battery, and the EV driving range, you should still be able to get about 500 Ks out of a charge if you do the sort of driving I've been doing, which has been highway, freeway commuting, and some seriously annoying traffic jams. But that's the reality of life, and it might be the reality of what you see when it comes to the energy consumption in this car too. So not the most efficient, but I'm not actually that surprised by that. The Lyriq hasn't been tested by ANCAP or Euro NCAP, but it's got a whole host of safety tech to achieve a high rating. Things like autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection, there's advanced lane keeping assistance, adaptive cruise control, speed sign recognition, there's also blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and you get a driver monitoring camera system with driver distraction tech. And it's probably the most frustrating thing about this car because there's no quick switch to turn it off. Well, not that I could find anyway. And it actually vibrates the seat rather than beep and bong at you, which I'm okay with in a strange and odd way. I'm sure many of you will be as well. You've got a surround view camera system as standard, parking sensors all around the car. And when it comes to the airbag coverage, there's dual front, front side, front center, driver's knee, and full length curtain coverage for both rows of seats. So it's a big unit and it should be pretty safe in there too. Cadillac in Australia is offering a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, and there's also an 8-year 160,000 warranty for the battery pack. Now, when it comes to your servicing, your intervals are every 12 months and 12,000 kilometres. It's a little bit more regular than most other EVs, that's for sure, but you do get free servicing for the first 5 years of cover. So that might be a nice plus for those who are thinking about this vehicle and not sure about those ownership considerations. There's roadside assistance included as well. So from the ownership perspective, I guess really the biggest cost is going to be those resale values in years to come. I came to call this the Cyber Caprice over my time in this vehicle, and that might seem a little harsh. It is a far more luxurious thing than the old Holden Caprice based on the Statesman from years gone by, but let me tell you, it doesn't stray from that formula too far, and it certainly isn't going to be for everyone. But have your say about it in the comments. Would you choose it? I'd love to know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you when I see you.